Good morning, students. Welcome back. Yesterday we started doing the lesson back from the brink. Brink, I told you, from coming back from the extreme age. So in this we started reading about the two documentary maker on the wildlife, Rita Banerjee and Maya Khosla, and they had been documenting in the northeast, the deep forests of Northing with the tribal people of northeast. And there were three tribal people along with them. They were Tai, Maga and Jarjo. All these were from Naishi tribe, and they were showing them different parts of the forest and how do they set up the traps for catching the animals, the special animals, the sought after animals, and why do they, what was the need for them to do the hunting. They did the hunting for food, for bones, for furs, for feathers, and for some rituals also. So let's read further. Over the years, these tribals realized that demand for animals and birds they had hunted was growing steadily. Steadily means gradually. The demand for these animals have started growing. Hornbills, barbets, civets, squirrels, and many more rare species were making their appearance as dead meat at village markets, with prices ranging from 500 to 5,000. A barking deer was sold for rupees 6,000. But wild meat in the markets could only mean one thing, that the forest after forest was going silent. There was a strange and empty sky where the wild birds used to fly. The next victim could very well be the forest itself. So, over the years, the tribal realized that the demand for these rare species of animals and birds had started growing. So, they increased the speed of hunting these animals. Earlier, they were hunting for themselves. Now, they were hunting to earn money for others. They started doing hunting for others, to sell their furs, to sell the meat, because they started getting a good price for those rare species like hornbill, barbets, civets, squirrels, or these other species. They started making appearance at the village market, and their meat was sold from rupees 500 to 5,000, and the barking deer was sold at rupees 6,000. But what happened because of all this excessive hunting, that forest after forest was going silent. That means the wildlife is killed and it is getting extinct. That these rare species started getting extinct from the face of the earth. They started disappearing from the face of the earth completely. And ultimately, earlier the sky used to be full of beautiful birds, but now no bird was visible in the sky. No wild bird was visible. So it only meant one thing, that next victim could be the forest itself. That the wildlife has been depleted, the wildlife is extincting, the wildlife is deleted. So next means the whole forest may be depleted. Now, our all-consuming goal was to document the extent of hunting and to determine whether there was any hope for future of wildlife in the northeast. In the process, we spent time with several tribes, including the Apatanis, Cheksang and Naishis, and attended many of their festivals. We witnessed the traditional uses of animal parts, monkey's fur, cat's claws, skins of bears and other animals. The beaks of hornbills. On one occasion, while filming in a village, we came across a young boy who had just returned with a monkey kill. He wanted to use the fur to make a new case for his dao. Dao means a dagger. His reasons were simple. He was attending a wedding, and it was a matter of prestige it would be much better than the other boys' dagger cases. So, now our means the documentary makers. All consuming means main goal. Purpose was to document the extent of hunting. They wanted to know what will be the extreme edge of this blind hunting. Like where will it take? And to determine whether there was any hope for future of wildlife in the Northeast, that there was any future for wildlife in the Northeast or not. In the process, we spent time with several tribes, including Apantis, and they spent time during this to find out this extent and to find out the consequences of extensive hunting. They spent time with several tribes, including Apantis, Cheksang, and Naishis, and they attended several festivals also. So on one such occasion, they met a young boy who had just come with his skill of monkey fur, and what he wanted to use the fur for making the case for his dagger. Dagger means a sharp knife. And why he wanted to make it? Because he was going to attend a marriage and he wanted to show off to his friends that his dagger case was much better than theirs. So his reasons were simple: to show off, to pretend, to be boastful that he killed the monkey himself and he made the dagger case out of that monkey's skin. So that's why he hunted that. He hunted for the monkey. And the documentary makers also find out that these tribal people they had very traditional use of these animal parts, like monkeys' furs, cats' claws, skins of bears, other animals, beaks of hornbill. They used them in a very different way. So, in Chizami village, Nagaland, the interviews we did with different generations of hunters revealed some interesting facts about the decline in wildlife here. Older hunters had intimate knowledge of the animals, their habitat, their food, even their smell. They could identify the animals from the photographs very easily. The younger hunters had much less information on the animals, and the teenage boys had seen hardly any mammals. This was enough to make them realize that hunting had reached crisis proportion. So, in Chizami village in Nagaland, in one of the villages in Nagaland, they interviewed different generations of the hunters. The older during the interviews they found out that the older generations had more information, more intimate, deep information about the animals, because they had seen all the types of mammals in their lifetime. They knew their habitat, where they lived. They knew what kind of food they ate, and even they could identify the animals with the photographs. They knew their smell also. So, but the younger generation, they did not have that much knowledge. Because why they did not have that much knowledge? Because they had not seen those species in their life. And the youngsters, they did not even, they haven't seen the mammals even. They haven't seen those species even. So how could they identify them? How could they know about their habitat, their food habits, or how do they smell? Because they haven't seen them with their own eyes. So this clearly tells out the extent of this reckless hunting. That what effect does this hunting is going to bring on their forest, on this wildlife, on this ecosystem. So, and they realized that hunting had reached crisis proportion. Proportion means the level of extreme damage, that it has come to the level of crisis. Now it's that hunting has reached the level of, almost to the level of crisis. It was extreme situation now. In January 2007, the tribal people of Ranchi village had arrived at a consensus. A self-imposed ban on hunting for 3 years was the only way to reverse the situation. Earlier in Konoma, Nagaland, the youth had taken it upon themselves to ban hunting as their forests were almost silent. Incredibly, they managed to sustain the ban for 10 years to revive the wildlife population and set up infrastructure for ecotourism. So, in January 2007, the tribal people of Ranchi village had arrived at a consensus. Consensus means agreement, a self-imposed. Self-imposed means placed on oneself. That I am imposing a ban on myself. I can speak for myself. So, the people of Ranchi village, they put a ban on themselves that they will not do hunting for at least 3 years. To reverse means revive the situation, to reverse, to opposite the situation that are now the species are getting extinct. So they would stop hunting, and so that they would let those species to revive themselves, to grow themselves. Earlier in Konoma, Nagaland, the youth means the younger generation. Here youth is not one youth, it's the whole group, whole community, the whole generation of youngsters had taken it upon themselves to ban hunting as their forests were almost silent. So they put a ban on themselves that we will not do hunting further. Our ancestors, our fathers and forefathers had been hunting recklessly, so that's why our forests have become silent. So they put a ban on themselves that they will not do hunting, and they kept on the ban for 10 years. Incredibly means it's not easy to believe that they kept the ban for 10 years to revive the wildlife population. To revive means bring back the wildlife population and set up infrastructure. Infrastructure means basic structure for ecotourism. Ecotourism means setting up the infrastructure or the basic structure necessary for earning livelihood from ecology, as turning it into a tourism, right? So they turn the forest into ecotourism so that the tourists will come, and then that will generate money for them, that would bring money for them. So that's how the younger generation, the youth of that village, they started living off, they started earning their livelihood by turning their forest into ecotourism. Many of the hunters we spoke to were willing to be wildlife guides if they were given a chance to make a livelihood. In Manas, Assam, there is already a successful example where ex-poachers have turned into forest guides, putting their intimate knowledge of the forest and its denizens to far better use. A powerful example of change. These are first steps, but positive ones, towards a more sustainable future. They have proved that protecting and preserving our forest and all creatures, great and small, is not a spectator's sport. So many of the hunters, the documentary makers, they feel that many of the hunters they spoke to while filming these documentaries, they were willing to become wildlife guides for their forests, for their villages, and if they were given a chance to make a livelihood out of that. In Manas, in Assam, there is already an example, a successful example, where ex-poachers, poachers are the hunters, illegal hunters. Ex means those who have left illegal hunting, those who have given away the habits of illegal hunting, have turned into forest guide, and they have turned into forest guides, putting their intimate means deep knowledge about the forest and its denizens. Denizens means people living in it, for a far better use a powerful example of change. It's a powerful example of change that slowly, gradually these tribal people have started understanding the value of ecology, ecosystem, wildlife, why do we need them, and what is the purpose of these wild animals in the forest at the very first place. So they have started understanding these things. So these are the first steps, but the positive ones, towards more sustainable future. Sustainable future means future which is more stable, based on natural resources for a long time. We can sustain our future on natural resources. We can live for a longer time on this earth because we have started conserving these natural resources. They have proved that protecting and preserving our forest and all creatures, great and small, is not a spectator sport. It's not a spectator sport. Spectator sport means it's not just that it's a very small thing or it's an easy thing. It is a great responsibility and it's a difficult task. So, in the end, the documentary makers say that it is everyone's duty, not only the tribals, not only the village dwellers, not only the forest people, the government. It is the duty of each and every individual of this country, of this world, to preserve the forest and all the creatures of the forest, whether great or small. And it is not an easy task. So that's all, students, for now. I hope you have understood the chapter. It's an easy one. So give it a reading. You will understand it better. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a nice day. God bless you.